Hi, Gary DeWaal here, and this is Bridging the Week for April 28th to May 2nd, and today is May 5th, 2014. Good morning. Today may be Cinco de Mayo and a cause for festive partying. However, last week the New York Stock Exchange and two affiliates were not celebrating at all when they were charged and agreed to be fined by the Securities and Exchange Commission for acting contrary to certain of the exchange's own rules or for not having certain rules at all. Also not celebrating were respondents who were charged with violating speculative position limits, as well as exchange of futures for related position and block trade requirements, and were fined by the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and in one case, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission too. We have a lot to cover this week in just a few minutes, so let's get started. In a sweeping criticism of the New York Stock Exchange's and two affiliates' course of conduct from 2008 to 2012, the Securities and Exchange Commission brought an administrative proceeding against the exchange and its affiliates for failing to comply with their own rules or for not having certain required rules in the first place on numerous occasions. This resulted in the organization's failure to comply with their obligations as self-regulatory organizations under law, says the Commission. Also sued was the NYSE Exchange's affiliated broker-dealer, Archipelago Securities. Archipelago was charged with failing to meet SEC regulatory capital requirements on 2 days in 2010 and for not having required policy and procedures regarding the handling of non-public information. The two NYSE affiliated exchanges involved in this matter are NYSE Arca and NYSE Market, formerly NYSE Amex. To settle this matter, NYSE, its affiliated exchanges, and Archipelago agreed to pay a fine of $4.5 million and to retain an independent consultant to review their rule compliance programs. You know, maintaining strong internal controls are important for all registrants, whether brokers, traders, fund managers, or even exchanges and clearinghouses. Under current rules of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, certain registrants are now formally required on at least an annual basis to itemize all relevant regulatory requirements and to assess how they meet such requirements through adequate policy and procedures. In fact, this exercise is a valuable drill for all registrants, whether required or not. Certainly, when a regulator points out a potential deficiency in following a requirement, a registrant should timely assess whether the regulator's assessment is correct, and if yes, address that deficiency promptly. Common sense. Speaking of the CFTC and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange brought and settled enforcement proceedings last week related to quite a few respondents' failure to comply with speculative position limits. In most instances, including the CFTC matter, the offense involved the violation of speculative limits at the end of a day. However, in one CME matter, the offense involved the violation of a speculative position limit intraday. With the impending reissue of CFTC position limit rules, these cases are a reminder of the need for traders to maintain robust monitoring systems to compare open positions against position limits not only at the end of each day, but intraday too. Positions must be converted to future equivalent contracts also. Get cracking on surveillance tools and policy and procedures now. A number of firms and one individual settled disciplinary proceedings in the CME's seemingly ongoing crackdown related to violations of its exchange of futures for related position and block trade requirements. Check out the list of firms sanctioned and the amounts in the article version of Bridging the Week. The CFTC announced last week a schedule when also called package transactions that include at least one swap subject to a made available to trade mandate must begin to trade on or subject to the rules of a swap execution facility or designated contract market. Previously, the CFTC temporarily had exempted such transactions from mandatory execution on such facilities through at least May 15, 2014. Check out the new schedule, which basically begins May 16 through the end of November, on the article version of Bridging the Week. Tunney & Associates, an accounting firm, and its sole owner, Michael Tunney, agreed to pay a fine of $100,000 related to its audits of the Lind Group, a futures commission merchant, for its fiscal years 2007 to 2011. The CFTC had charged in a complaint filed at a federal court in Chicago that the respondents did not have, quote, the requisite technical training and proficiency to audit an FCM, end of quote, and that the audits failed to comply with generally accepted auditing standards or CFTC requirements. And finally, ICE Clear Europe has submitted to the CFTC proposed amended rules that would require clearing members to cover certain losses that the clearinghouse might sustain as a result of investments of clearing members' margin and guarantee fund contributions, as well as from its own general business operations. These losses would be unrelated to losses the ICE Clear Europe might sustain as a result of the default of a clearing member. Just a few weeks ago, the Futures Industry Association objected to a similar proposal by LCH ClearNet to cover losses as a result of its treasury management activities. I've asked before and I ask again, is it not time formally to study the disenfranchisement of clearing members from clearinghouses? In this circumstance, shouldn't shareholders, not clearing members, be taking the risk of ordinary business losses? Anyway, that's it for this week's Bridging the Week. As always, there's more information in each article and more articles on the article version of Bridging the Week. I'm Gary DeWaal, and until next week, enjoy your Cinco de Mayo partying, enjoy the rest of the week, and until next week, ciao!